What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to tell you briefly about what's called the Polyvagal Theory. Okay, so polyvagal is really that we know we have two nervous systems, right? We have the sympathetic nervous system that's designed to get us going and motivate us and rev us up, or if we need to run or fight. And our parasympathetic nervous system, that's designed to calm us down and bring us back into a balanced state. Well, Stephen Porges discovered that we have a third nervous system called the vagus nerve. Okay, the vagus nerve is basically in charge of helping this parasympathetic and sympathetic be in sync with each other. Okay, and it's pretty much connected to every single organ and body part. Actually, I don't think there's any part it's not connected to. There are two parts to the vagus nerve. Okay, so the first part is called the ventral vagus, and how I remember it is vent or air. It's responsible for our breathing on up. Okay, so it's very much connected to our social connection, right? My voice, my breath, my hand gestures, my facial gestures, upper body movement. So very socially connected. The other part of the vagus nerve is called the dorsal vagus. D, I think of dorsal digestion on down. So it takes care of digestion, bowel stuff, gets my legs and feet going if I need to, or helps them relax if I don't need to, that kind of thing. All right. So I want you to just keep that in mind for a minute. Okay. While I bring us up to the brain part. So with our brain, okay, we have what Bessel van der Kolk calls in his book, The Body Keeps a Score. I like this term. He calls it the high road and the low road. All right, for how our brain processes things. Okay, so the low road, to give you an idea, I don't know if you can, hope you can see my pointer here, but the low road consists of our brain stem, right, the part that connects the body to the brain, our limbic system, okay, which is the middle of the brain, and it's the emotions and regulating emotions and movements and stuff. So these two here are what we call the low road. All right. And I'm going to give you an example of how the low road processes something in just a minute, but just want to kind of lay a map for you. Okay. So this is responsible, for survival, for, how we react, how we feel, how our body moves, that kind of thing. Okay. And the high road is the intellectual road. This is the top of the brain, right? The cortexes that I was telling you about. This is the rationale, the intellect, the insight, okay? So this is actually called neocortex. So the upper brain, neocortex, these two parts of the brain are subcortex, just to kind of note the terminology a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about what this would look like. So let's say you're in a classroom, you're in college and you're taking this math class, okay? And all of a sudden in the middle of a very interesting math problem, you hear a bang. And when you hear a bang, you kind of also feel a bit of a vibration, okay? And when you look around, you see people kind of looking up and reacting, and you hear them, kind of going like this. Okay, so those pieces that experience, remember it's external first, are going to come at us, and it goes into this pink area called the thalamus. This is the place that corrals everything. All the parts that come at us from external, it's gathered here. And once the thalamus has them all gathered up, it sends it to this little, I don't know what you'd call it, a little circular thing here called the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible to help us decide if something is safe to negotiate with or not, okay? So the amygdala looks at the pieces that came in, the sound, the visuals, the feeling, the vibration, and it says, I don't think this is a problem, but let's just check and be sure. So then it sends it to this part over here. It's kind of a triangle part, and it's called the hypothalamus, okay? The hypothalamus so takes the current information, all right? And then it also looks at over here, this is called the caudate nucleus, fancy term. This is where experiences that get stuck tend to be stored, All right, not literally, but this is where they go. So the hypothalamus is asking the library here, the caudate nucleus, for past experiences to figure out what that was. What was that noise? And so let's say the caudate nucleus says, well, I'm not seeing anything in my data that says that this is a problem, but we might want to know just in case. Let's just check. So then the hypothalamus says, all right, glands secrete some adrenaline. The adrenaline is what lets our nervous system move. So it's sort of like the gas for the car or the grease for the wheel. So our nervous system gets the adrenaline. So the vagus nerve then says, we better look up. Let's lift up. Let's look up. Open your eyes. Might breathe in. I might go, oh, make a little noise. My hand might go up. Stuff like that. And my dorsal vagus might tighten my legs and maybe my toes curl to get ready to run in case I have to. Now, continued input is coming, all right? And what we see is we see people kind of settling back down. We see people laughing. We see not really anything happening. There's nothing coming at us. So that data goes to the thalamus again, all right? Thalamus sends it to that amygdala. It's kind of like a smoke detector, okay? The amygdala says, check this out. Here's the new data on this, hypothalamus, okay? And then the hypothalamus, asks again the caudate nucleus. So what about now? Any other data? Nope, I'm still not getting any information that says we're in danger. Okay, so that's where the high road then comes in. So our lovely, amygdala sends it up the high road. It goes into this cool blue-purple area called the hippocampus. And point of interest, hippo means seahorse because it's shaped like a seahorse, so the hippocampus. This is the part of the brain that's responsible for our creating new memories and refining our emotional reaction to things, right? And it helps also with our movement, okay? So this part is forming a new memory of this bang noise, okay? It's refining our emotional reaction to it from, all right, to let's see if we need to, let's get logical here, shoots it up into these areas. And this area says, oh, you know what? It's a door slamming, okay? Maybe somebody didn't know their strength and just pulled it too hard. Or maybe the little triangle fell out and the wind took it, okay? So there's a logical explanation for this. You're safe, you're fine. So here comes our hypothalamus, says to the glands, okay, glands, we're good. Okay, let's secrete some serotonin. Serotonin is something that calms us down. So the serotonin comes down here and it allows our nervous system, our vagus nerve, to ventral vagus, then says, okay, let's calm down. We can relax, everybody. And maybe you slouch. Maybe your eyes aren't so big. Your head goes back into your very interesting math book, right? Your breathing goes, maybe something like that. And then your dorsal vagus, maybe your legs loosen up, your toes uncurl, and you're good to go. All right. But let's take the person who is next to you, all right, who has a different experience. The external information that comes in is exactly the same, right? The bang, the vibration, hearing and seeing people react. Okay. Only for this person, after it gathers in the thalamus, goes to the smoke detector, the amygdala, right? And then it goes to that hypothalamus. When the hypothalamus checks the past, checks in with the caudate nucleus says, uh-oh, the last time we heard a noise like that, your raging alcoholic parent came in, started throwing things, yelling and screaming and hitting. Danger. So then here comes the hypothalamus. Oh my God, danger, danger, warning, warning. And what ends up happening is it says, we need something stronger than adrenaline. So it says to the glands, okay, glands, we need to fight this battle. And I want you to secrete cortisol, which is a much stronger, longer acting form of adrenaline, okay, form of adrenaline than adrenaline, right? It can stay in our system up to 3 days, right? So now we've got massive cortisol, rushing through our system, okay? And what happens here is this. If the low road, right, the brain stem and the amygdala, the subcortex, if it's detecting danger, It's responsible for survival first and logic second. We're built to survive first and be logical second. So what ends up happening is the low road barricades the high road and says, nope, you don't get to go in here because we're too busy trying to survive. So we have somebody here whose heart is beating like crazy. And incidentally, if your heart's beating more than 100 beats per minute, you stop learning because you're in survival mode. Okay. So what happens when we have too much cortisol? A number of things happen. One of the things that happens is we have trouble healing. Our skin gets bruised easier, gets hurt easier, takes longer to heal. We experience things like, what am I thinking? Losing my train. Weight gain, usually like our back and around our abdomen area. So we have trouble with weight regulation, sugar regulation, okay? One of the biggest things that happens with cortisol though is if you think about, cortisol is really strong. So it's firing all those neurons of information constantly in our brain. Boom, 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 boom. This is what causes people to have what we know as flashbacks, because it's like fireworks going off in our head. So this, this information isn't being digested, right? It's not getting what it needs to then end up in long-term, because remember, the survival part of the brain said, logic, you don't get to come in. So it's not getting to put pieces in order. It's not getting to be logical about them. It's not getting the opportunity to make sense of it, okay? So here we are, having mood swings and other challenges like that. The other problem with too much cortisol is it does tend to damage our hippocampus over time, all right? Remember, the hippocampus creates new memory, and it helps us fine-tune our emotional reaction and physical reaction. If this isn't working very well, we're not creating new memories, which is why the next day we probably don't remember how to do that math problem we learned the day before, right? Or we might have a reaction that doesn't fit the situation, okay? If I had an experience at age 5 where I was stung by a bunch of bees and I didn't digest it all the way, right? And so I still have some stuck stuff. It's right here, undigested, kind of like a CD with a scratch. It's stuck in the middle of the song. So when I go outside and I see something flying around, my brain is looking at what it sees in front of it, which is the past experience. So there's this bug, and my brain goes, last time you saw that thing flying around, it hurt you. Danger, danger, warning, warning, run. And then you get panicky or, nervous or whatever. And you're going, what the heck's the matter with me? I love being outside. And your friends are like, why are you reacting like that? It's just a fly, right? But your brain is reading the stuck past information, having a very different understanding of what's happening. Okay. At some point, your poor brain can't be in fourth gear forever. It's going to end up kind of, what would you say, stalling out or conking out. Then we start having the other problem, which is not enough cortisol. Okay. So if you think about a river that flows, okay, fishes flow, rocks get clean, things move, right? Keeps the water fresh, keeps the ecosystem moving and growing and, doing what it's supposed to do, right? But if we don't have enough juice, if we don't have enough cortisol and the water in the river dries up, we have puddle here, puddle there, the fish are kind of stuck in the puddle, right? Nothing moves, everything kind of gets stagnant. So what ends up happening for us in terms of our brain, okay, is without enough cortisol to move stuff, we end up having slower and less blood flow. So this part of the brain here, this is this gray area, the gray matter, is what's in between the left and the right brain. And blood flow here diminishes in amount and in speed. And this is where people end up having things like lingering thoughts. So if you ever had a client say to you, or maybe you've experienced it yourself, where you say, it feels like that accident happened yesterday, even though it was 10 years ago. Okay. So it's there's lingering thoughts going on. Okay. Another problem besides like challenges with mood swings, right? It definitely affects our sugar levels and blood pressures. And so all of that is all impacted. But a big thing is with cortisol, it's considered a natural anti-inflammatory. So if we don't have enough cortisol, we develop disorders of inflammation, such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. We end up with things like arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, migraine headaches, that sort of thing. Okay, GI issues, So think about the nervous system. If it's not getting the juice it needs or the right type of juice, it isn't working very well.